system and what that means. Some of you may have some idea, but for those of you who do not, kind of start at the baseline. So basically, every house system, we were talking about last week, I think on Wednesday or Thursday, and I said I'd be back Friday about this, but when we run your birth chart, every house in a whole house system, which is sort of the blueprint like I've talked about before, where it starts with Aries, it's like a natural house. So when somebody's rising sign is in Aries, we call that a natural house. And so that would be sort of the blueprint. And like I was talking about last week, if you have an ascendant in another sign like Libra, you're going to be, or let's do Scorpio, you're going to kind of have to look at the commonalities and differences between Scorpio and Aries, and that's going to determine your first house. It'll be like the themes of Aries, your body, your identity, but with the flavor of Scorpio and how Scorpios connotate to identity and things like that, which, you know, Scorpio rules the 8th house of like the occult and secrets. So somebody who has a Scorpio rising can often be very mysterious. That's how I usually identify. I'll be like, they're kind of mysterious. Oh, do you have a Scorpio rising? I've actually called it one time, I think. But anyways, or I might have thought someone was a Scorpio and they had a Scorpio rising. I do. In this just basic blueprint of a wheel, that would be a natural house system that starts in Aries. Each house has 30 degrees. So Aries would be 30 degrees in the first house. The second house will be 30 degrees in Taurus. The third house will be 30 degrees in Gemini, and so on and so on. And they're all, I should have done the math, you guys, but a circle is 360 degrees. So divided by 12, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. It would be 30. Yeah. That's right, because 10 times 30 is 300 and times 2 is 60. So there's 360 degrees around a wheel because it's all angles. So, you know, 360 degrees. All right. And basically, in a whole house system, that's what it is. So when an astrologist casts your chart on a whole house system, I'm pretty sure it defaults to, say your rising sign in a Placidus system, so your ascendant astrologist used, but I did hear one astrologist who's very, I haven't watched a lot of his videos, his channel seemed newer also, but he knew what he was talking about, let's just say, like he knew shop talk, and he said, oh, I only believe in a whole house system, and I was a little bit surprised by that, so I wanted to just kind of dig into it with you guys, but I don't like the whole house system because your rising could be 29 degrees Aries, and so it's, or no, let's see. See, I'm not quite sure where the whole house system rounds to because I don't use it, but I just know that it's the basic blueprint. So it rounds somehow that I don't like. It basically, it might be what they use in CoStar because it's like, if you're, how would it be? It would be like, because it kicks it back. So if your rising's 29 degrees Aries, it will say it's basically your whole chart starts in Aries. In reality, you might have a bunch of interceptions, and because it's starting so late in Aries, you might have houses that are, you know, like that you would assume if it was a natural chart, like you would assume that the 5th house is going to be in Leo, but if you run it Placidus and it's like 29 degrees Aries, then you might only have 2 signs here instead of 4 that rule 2 of each of these houses, or you might have 1 sign intercepted and missing completely, which is what we're going to get into is interceptions. It's kind of the advanced end of what we're talking about here, and I might have to do part 2 for tomorrow and to get into interceptions a little more, but we'll just pick up from today because I only have about 20 minutes, but let's see if we can get that far. So basically, that's why I don't like a whole house system, because in the Placidus system, it's actually taking a snapshot of the sky. So it's not just going, okay, your ascendant is 15 degrees Taurus, you're a Taurus rising. It's actually, and then calculating every house 30 degrees after that. So, you know, it would start, instead of with Aries, it would start with Taurus. And by the time you got to the first house, to the 12th house, you would be at Aries. So the 12th house would be ruled in Aries if the first house, the ascendant, is in Taurus. But that may not be true in a Placidus system where we're actually taking a snapshot of the sky, of the transits at the time you were born based on the actual calculations of where all the planets were in the signs and where the ascendant starts, which has to do with the horizon, right? What sign that was in. And there's like a trick where you can know, because I believe at like 12:01 a.m. there's a way. I heard an astrologist talking about it, and I kind of picked it up, but I don't really reference it quickly yet. But once I get it down, I will. It's just like there's a way to kind of know what time of day it connotates with what rising sign. So I think it's like, but I can't remember the exact math on how long it stays in a sign right now. So that would be the issue there for me. I should look into that, and I'll maybe make a video about it next week, just breaking it down very rudimentary. Because that's what I like to do. But let's see here. So a Placidus house system is just basically actually this Yeah, sorry. I don't know if, like, any of you, I guess you can fast forward on the replay. I just was making plans, and of course we waited till the last minute, and of course it's when I was trying to squeeze this video in beforehand, but I was procrastinating on everything, I guess, today. But yeah, so basically an interception would be if you have 30 degrees in, I can't believe it actually lets me answer a phone call through my computer when I'm live on my phone. That's cool to know. So 30, I was like trying to get off the phone, and I feel like he could sense that, so he was like keeping me on the phone, but we were making a plan. So 30 degrees. So yeah, if you have Taurus intercepted 30 degrees in Aries, I believe the whole house system might actually kick it out, and then it'll just be like your first house will be in Aries and your second house will be in Gemini. Correct me if I'm wrong, you guys. Or it's like your first house will be in Aries and your second house will still be in Taurus. Because either way, it either like adds an interception in or cuts it out completely in the whole house system. That's what I'm going to have to get back to you guys about tomorrow. So I'll definitely confirm that because I haven't used it enough, like I told you guys. But the planet that's in Taurus in the Placidus system, where you have like 30 degrees here, and again, the first house is ruled by Aries and the second house is ruled by Gemini. Any planet that might land in Taurus there is called an interception. Now, I kind of tend, because I have this a lot in my birth chart, I have Taurus and Sagittarius intercepted. I tend to feel like if Taurus starts in the first house and still, even if it rules the second house, I still feel like it's intercepted in your first house. And if any planets fall in Taurus in your first house, when your first house is ruled by Aries, this is just the example, right? So you could apply this to any two signs. And it doesn't have to just be your first house. It could be happening anywhere on the wheel. So it could be, you know, your 10th house starts in Capricorn and it goes into your 11th house here. And then you have Aquarius starting in the 11th house, but it doesn't rule the 11th house. So any planets in Aquarius in the 11th to me would be intercepted planets, even if Aquarius rules your 12th house, because they're not landing in your 12th house. That's how I read it. Just in case you guys are wondering how I translate it, like that, I find it to be the most accurate. Okay. I mean, not all of you do it this way. Like I said, he seemed like a pretty astute astrologist and he uses the whole house system. So I think, and I hear astrologists say things sometimes that I have no idea. I'm like, wow, and they're drawing the same sort of conclusions about certain things. So I'll be looking at the synastry part of the chart, and they'll be looking at like the asteroid synastry, or even just like the kites and stuff. Some astrologists are really good at that, which I don't really know very well. And I'm sure one day it will click for me. I'll just be researching something and I'll be like, oh, that's how it connotates to this other blueprint, these other 25 blueprints and aspects that I know. Oh, now I understand kites, you know, but not today, I don't. So I'll admit to, you know, what I'm still working on. But yeah, I think this pretty much covered, I covered, you know, planets in an interception, like if it's landing, if it's not in the sign of the planet ruling the cusp of the house, then to me the planet is intercepted. Even if that intercepting sign, because some astrologists don't call a sign intercepted if it's ruling any house cusp. So even if it's like Aries isn't ruling the ascendant like it would in a, you know, natural chart, and it's 15 degrees into the first house, Aries, it starts 0 degrees Aries, and then Aries rules the second house, and so the 12th house, so the ascendant would be ruled by Pisces. Any planet landing in Aries again wouldn't, in that first house, would be intercepted to me, even if Aries goes into the second. But some astrologists think, you know, it's only intercepted if it's completely not a house cusp. And yes, if planets are there, I would say it's even stronger. Now, I want to order some books on interceptions because there's not a lot of information online. There aren't a lot of videos about it. There aren't a lot of forums where, I mean, forums you can find a little bit of thoughts about it, but it's just, you know, people kind of going back and forth. So there are some books on them, because even in my books, I haven't really ran across them. So to me, I mean, there's a celebrity that has a very similar house system to mine. Like a lot of Virgo risings have similar house systems to me because I'm at 0 degrees Libra. But all of the houses where he has planets landing are interceptions, like what I just described, if not entirely intercepted. So my intercepted signs are, again, Taurus and Sagittarius, and I don't have any planets in them. But anyways, so it's weird to me because even though he has a similar house system to me and similar planetary layout, and we're born close together, so we have the same generational planets, his are intercepted, and yet he has a lot more status and power in the world. So it could be based off one or two aspects. I'm not sure. And for me, it's like I have these planets in these houses. No, there are some interceptions, like I said, and it is a reverse natural chart for me. But I have them where the power is packed in the punch. Like the 7th and 8th house is ruled by Aries, and all the planets are in Aries. You know, in the 7th. So it's just really, that's my most powerful sign in my chart is Aries. So it's like packed. Where for him, he has similar stuff, not his sun, but like his Mars and stuff, and it's in Aries, but it's intercepted according to the way that I describe interceptions. Might even be entirely intercepted. I'd have to look again. And it just seems like that Mars in Aries at the same degree as my sun is much more powerful for him. But, you know, the Mars is a very masculine planet too. So as a woman being very strong in Mars Aries energy, or the sun, sometimes it can take a little while to fall into place until you actually deserve the authority, you know. I don't know, I'm just kind of, that's a little bit of conjecture, but you may have to sort of prove yourself a little more in a man's world with it, because you come off, you know, that saying about BITC, it's like an Aries, a strong Aries woman, especially with Mars or the sun there, you know, can come off a little bit dominant, and that can take a little while to navigate in the world. Even Libra can do that too, that spectrum. It's about interpersonal relationships versus independence, and dominance versus submission. You know, Libra can tend, not Libras I know, because I know some Libras that are very strong personality-wise, but they can tend to be more on the end of people pleaser, or if they have that in their chart. You know, any Venus ruled sign like Taurus and Libra are going to be very nurturing. Just whether, even if they come off a little strong in their own personality, like very stubborn or very overbearing or something, they can be very nurturing as well and very caring about others, because Venus is about relationships and it rules Libra and Taurus. But anyways, I always just like to elaborate those things for you guys, because for some of you it may help it all click together, and for some of you it's just, you already know it, so it's just going with the flow, I would hope, and on that I'm not being redundant. So yeah, I covered planets, I covered houses intercepted, and I covered the sign interceptions, which is basically the houses. But yeah, I'll get back to you guys tomorrow at the start of the video, or the next day, because I've kind of been doing every other day right now. I'll get on my software and play with it tonight about how that whole house system actually is cutting out things, or if it's adding them, if it's overcompensating or undercompensating. And that's what I don't remember. And I was playing with it a few months ago, and I was kind of going on little tangents about it in my own personal life, but I didn't get on here. And so I thought I already knew. I thought, oh, it'll click when I get on there, but just want to cross my eyes and cross my T's and dot my I's. Mercury, it's Mercury retrograde, you guys. My Mercury's in Pisces, square my Uranus, so it should be fun times. I've already been feeling the shadow phase, but like last night my TV just like froze and stayed on the screensaver right when I was trying to screen mirror for the first time on it. And I was all excited because I Googled it and I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. And then it's just freezing and won't work. That was Mercury retrograde type problems. It wasn't, you know, I take it in stride. I'm just like, that's Mercury retrograde, whatever. But I've got to get headed out here. I'm going to a tournament tonight, and that's what that phone call was all about. But hopefully you didn't wait the whole 3 or 4 minutes. And like I said, the more I was trying to get off the phone, the more it's like, oh, you know, what's going on? But yeah, I've got to head out of here in about 15. So I'm halfway ready. I just got to put my boots on and figure out which coat I'm gonna wear. So I'm sending you all love, blessings, and light as always, and I will try to be back on tomorrow, but I'll definitely look into that, and I'll be back Wednesday. I had a client that I was supposed to do a little homework for overnight, and she came back today, so I was like, can you give me 15 more minutes, you know, to look up this certain transit date? And then I was like showing her the tri-wheel, and it's basically like I told you guys. So I had her birth chart, his birth chart, and then the day of an occurrence for them, an event, all wheeled together. And so she thought that was pretty cool. And I can actually animate it and go back. She's like, she was down to the exact minutes of things. I'm like, well, I can go back and forth minutes, hours, days, weeks, you know, for trying to find something. And that's why that software is kind of superior. I really love my database, and it's great, you know, for remote and storing everyone in there. But I'm not able to actually, you know, if I want to run the transit chart, I have to do it like I have to go back and re-enter, but it has a lot of shortcuts in there also that I love. So it's just just depends what I'm doing and where I'm at and what tools I have, which one I use. But as being an on-demand astrologist, I have to be ready to go when you're all ready to go. So it is kind of nice if you order, like if you want a personal reading on rotation411.com and you want me to like go over transits for you for a particular day, or I can do like the next year or two with your birth chart, or even if you go to romance readings, I can do like that 3-wheel with your chart, their chart, and the next chart, or the composite I can do with the transits to see how things will go over the next year or two. But it's nice because if you order that, it's 5 to 10 business days return, but I really get to take my time and like really find everything. I mean, obviously, when I'm going over it that quickly with a client, I'm finding I guess I'm going to say juicy the sustenance, the substance, then think of how much, if my brain can fire synapses that fast, think of how much I can do when we're going over it, when I'm taking an hour or two to focus on it. When I can do that in just a half an hour on prompt, think when I can actually study, you know. I can cover a lot of ground and see a lot of things. But yeah, so that's just in case you guys were wondering about those as well. But it keeps me sharp when they do that. When they're like, I want to know right now. Can you look at the chart right now? But the nice thing is, unlike this live where I kind of catch myself up, say something backwards and keep going, when I'm live chatting with them, I can go, oh, you know, they'll come back to me and I can go, oh, I'm sorry, let me just correct that. And I read up and reread everything, where here I'm not rereading it. So I always, when I write, I reread it. And sometimes when I write something on social media, I have to like edit it like 3 times because I keep rereading it and finding errors. But so when I'm, you know, writing them in Messenger or something, I tend to make less errors, or I catch them and I can correct them right on the spot. But when I'm live on here, there's an element of being nervous, but there's also something else I was just grasping about it. I don't remember. It eluded me. It was like another thought that I was going to segue into to wrap it up, but I already said goodbye to you guys once. So yeah, I better get going. I'm sure I'll watch this in a playback and I'll note it down if it comes back to me. But all right, so have a good evening, y'all, and love and light.